Hello again and welcome back to the PhatPhish Guitar Studio. I'm Dave and this video is a bit of a lesson, a bit of a tutorial talking about chords. Moving beyond sort of like basic triads and seventh chords and starting to look at extended chords and clearing up some of the confusion a bit about what is an extended chord versus what's an add chord and that sort of thing. Something comes up now and again in lessons I thought it would probably be worth doing a video about. Quickly recap the basics of chord construction. What we do when we build a chord is we take notes from a scale and we take alternate notes from the scale, put those together to give us a chord. So if, for example, we took, let's say, E major scale. Let's use an E major just for a change. We usually use C, but let's use E for a change. In the E major scale, we've got an E, an F sharp, a G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and an E. Brings us back to the octave and the start of the scale again, and just keep going. And then we can number those degrees from the scale. So we've got E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 or 1 back at the E note on the octave. And when we build a basic 3-note chord like called triad, 3 notes in it, we take alternate notes starting from that first degree, from that root note. So we take the first degree, which is E, miss the second, go to the third, which is G sharp, miss the fourth and go up to the fifth, which is B. So those 3 notes together, E, G sharp and B, are the notes of an E major chord. E major scale, alternate notes 1, 3 and 5 gives us an E major chord, and that's a chord you'll have played loads of times before, so this is probably the position that you first learned. And if you look at the notes involved, there's an E, a B, another E, a G sharp, another B and another E. So for all we're playing 6 strings, we're only actually playing 3 notes, E, G sharp and B, the notes of the E major chord. And we can keep going with chord construction like that and keep taking alternate notes. We've got the 1, the 3 and the 5 to give us a triad. If we miss the 6th and go up to the 7th degree, we get a 7 chord. So we've got the E as the 1 degree, G sharp as the 3rd, B as the 5th degree. We'll miss out the 6th degree C sharp and take the 7th degree, which is D sharp. So we've got a chord that contains E, G sharp, B and D sharp. And how can we play that? Well, if we think about the shape that we were playing before, that E major, I'm going to use these fingers this time. So that's our E major chord. If we look at the note at the 2nd fret on the 4th string, we've got an E. So 1 semitone below E is D sharp. So what I can do is take my finger off the 2nd fret, bring a finger down on the 1st fret on the 4th string to give us a D sharp, and that gives us an E major 7 chord. So that's got a different sound. So that's the E major chord that we started with, the E, G sharp and B, and this is the E major 7 chord, E, G sharp, B and D sharp. You can hear the difference between the two. So that's taking a chord, taking the triad, building it up to a 7 chord. And what we can do once we've constructed a 7 chord is we can just keep going. We can extend that chord beyond the octave. So if you think we've got the 1, the 3, the 5 and the 7 to give us the 4 notes of the E major chord, E major 7 chord. If we miss out the 8th, we could go to the next note up, which is the 9th. Now the 9th really is like the 2nd, but it's an octave higher. But if you think about the notes we've got E is the 1st degree, we've got G sharp as the 3rd, we've got B as the 5th, we've got D sharp as the 7th degree, we've got an E as the 8th of the octave. We're going to miss that out and go up to the next note in the scale, which is this one, F sharp. So if you think about the notes of E major scale, we've got E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, back to E. F sharp is the second degree, but you can also think of it as the ninth if you keep going beyond the octave, which is kind of what we're doing because we're just stepping through the scale, adding alternate notes as we go. So if we want to play an E major 9 chord, because that's what it's called, it's an E major chord extended up to include a ninth degree, we can think about that E major 7 chord that we were playing before. So we took the E major chord and took out one of the E notes to give us a D sharp, which is the 7th degree. And what we're going to start to do now as well, we want those 4 notes, we still want E, G sharp, B and D sharp, but we also want an F sharp in there. And a natural place to play an F sharp is here at the 2nd fret on the top E string. So we'll play an F sharp there. We'll lose the E on the open E string, but that doesn't matter because we've still got an E on the bottom E string. So we've still got E, G sharp, B, D sharp and F sharp. We've got all 5 notes that make up that E major 9 chord. And that chord sounds like this. And that chord voice has got its own distinctive sound. So let's compare the 3 different chords that we play. So we've got the basic E major chord, we've got the E major 7 chord, and the E major 9. Okay, so that's the basics of an extended chord. Something else you can do though is just take the basic E major triad, well you can do this with any chord, but we'll stick with E major for now. Take the basic E major chord with E, G sharp and B, 1, 3 and 5 degrees, and add in that F sharp. So we're not going to add in the 7th degree, we're going to go straight onto the 9th. So we think about playing that as the chord that we started with, the E major chord, and add in that F sharp at the 2nd fret on the top E string, and that's called an E add 9 chord, a major E major add 9. Called an add 9 rather than a major 9 because we haven't extended the major chord up to include the 7th degree. So if compare the sound, this is the E major chord, this is the E major 7 chord, this is the E major 9 chord, and this is the E major add 9 chord. So you can hear the difference. Let's play those 2 9 chords. This is the E major 9, and this is the E major add 9. Yeah, hear the difference? The difference is subtle. You can hear more of a difference between the basic E major triad and the E major 7 and the E major 9 because we're adding in different notes. The difference between the major 9 and the add 9 is a little more subtle, but the difference is there. And fundamentally that's the difference between an extended chord and an add chord. An extended chord is we bring in every alternate degree from the root, the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th and the 9th, and you can keep going and add in like 11ths and 13ths and whatnot, but that's the subject for a whole other tutorial. That's an extended chord. An add chord is basically where you take a triad and then add in something beyond the 7th. So in this case we're adding in the 9th, that's an E major add 9. And we can do this for other types of chord as well. So if we think about sticking in with E, let's think about an E minor, which you probably know. Again, that's got a different sound to E major. E major sounds happy, E minor sounds sad. Yeah, first rule of chords, major happy, minor sad. But we can take that E minor chord and add in the case of a minor, we actually add in a flat 7th degree. So take that E, say on the 2nd fret on the 4th string, down to a D natural, gives us a chord with the formula 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. These are notes coming from the E natural minor scale. E, G natural, not G sharp this time, just G natural, B and D, and that gives us the sound of the E minor 7 chord. Again, compare the difference between regular E minor or E minor 7. And I can do the same thing. We can add in an F sharp to give us an E minor 9, so it's an E minor 7 chord extended to include a 9th degree. which has got again a distinctive sound. So it's got the formula 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7 and 9. If we just played the E minor triad and added in the 9th degree, that's an E minor add 9. It's an E minor chord with an added 9th. So again, compare the difference between an E minor 9 and an E minor add 9. E minor 9, E minor add 9. You see, again, the differences are subtle, but they are there. And the other sort of chord type you'll come across a lot is the dominant 7th chord. So we start off with again sticking with E and E major, and we want a flat 7th degree, because the formula of a dominant 7th chord is 1, 3, 5, flat 7. So we'll start with an E major chord, take that E down 2 semitones to D, gives us the distinctive sound of a dominant 7th chord. The formula E, G sharp, B and D, 1, 3, 5, flat 7. And I can bring in a 9th degree, so I extend that dominant 7th chord to include a 9 degree, so bring in the F sharp on the top E string again. And that's the sound of a dominant 9. Isn't such a thing as like a dominant add 9, because if we didn't have the 7th degree, it's just a regular major chord again, so it would just be the same as like a major add 9. So that's basically the difference between extended chords and add chords. It's whether or not you've got that 7th degree, and like I say, it applies to, you can build it on any type of triad, whether it's major, minor. You can look at dominant chords, and it works with like diminished and augmented and so on as well. It's the thing with chord theory and a lot of music theory generally, it's quite mathematical. And once you've got the basic pattern, you can apply it across, you can apply the same basic sort of like sets of formula across different types of scales. Okay, so that's a bit of a quick look at extended chords and add chords, but like I said, it's something that comes up now and again in lessons. I thought it was probably worth covering off in a video. If you want a bit more information or any specific questions about this or chord construction, I'll put a couple of links in the information section down there to some other tutorials that's already on the channel covering chord construction a bit more detail, and like harmonizing chords out and so on. Harmonizing scales out in chords. But if you've got a question or anything that you want to ask me, if you go here, you can fill the form in, send your question in, and I'll try and get around to answering it for you in a future video. In the meantime, if you found the video useful, please click like, please subscribe, please leave a comment down there. If you want to ask me a question, though, it's better to send it through that form rather than leaving it in the comments, because YouTube doesn't always let me know when people leave comments on videos, so I might not see your question for a while. So hopefully you found that useful. If you did, please click like, please subscribe down there. You leave a comment if you want, but if you've got a question, it's probably better to send it in through that form rather than to leave it in the comments section, because I don't always see comments that are left on videos, so your question might go unseen and unanswered. Better to use that form. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in another video sometime soon. Bye for now.